Earlier this year, technology giant Motorola split into two companies, Motorola Solutions and Motorola Mobility. Well, we have the CEO of the Solutions part of it, Greg Brown. He is also a corporate leader who has been to Washington many times in the past few months to talk about job creation and the economy with the president. Always great to see you, Greg.
Good to see you, Betty.
Let me talk technology first, right? Sure. You know, we were just talking about National Semiconductor and Texas Instruments and this big mega $6.5 billion deal. Does that change the dialogue among your senior managers and your boardroom about acquisitions?
I don't think so. I think that Rich is determined that that acquisition makes sense for him to do. We have spent time, Betty, getting Motorola separated, and we're only now into our fourth month as an independent entity. It's gone well. Obviously, I can't speak to Q1, right. But last year, this business grew 5%. On the government side, 19% on the enterprise side. And with Motorola Solutions, we're very well positioned, and we're the worldwide leader in public safety and RFID and rugged mobile computing and advanced data capture. So we're well positioned, and our focus is on the execution side.
I think when the split happened, you had said something along the lines of, this is now a golden opportunity to expand, right, for Motorola Solutions. So what is that golden opportunity, and when are we going to see it?
So I think that one of the fantastic opportunities in front of us is next generation public safety. So in the U.S. as well as abroad, everybody needs interoperable, mission-critical, secure communications. We lead in that market, but more importantly, it continues to be a growth market. Okay. There are technology drivers that will lead to a refresh here in the States. And everybody talks about 4G and LTE, and all the wireless operators are rolling out their respective networks. But guess what? We're well positioned to roll out public safety broadband or public safety LTE here in the States. I think the United States will lead it, and the Middle East will be the next region up to roll that
phase for you for that. Okay.
Absolutely. So that's part of the golden opportunity we're talking about.
If you were to acquire, though, as you're expanding, if you were to acquire, would you need to raise debt for that?
Well, I wouldn't. Again, that's not our area of focus right now. When I talked about the golden opportunity, I'm talking about primarily organic investment, using the channels of distribution that we have, broadening the reach for the portfolio of products that we do have that, as I mentioned, are often the worldwide leading products that we already have in the market.
Greg, I mentioned before that you travel to Washington quite often. That's the last time I saw you, after you'd met with the president. At the time, we talked about jobs. Has it improved? What needs to happen for you to hire more people? So
it is improving. The unemployment rate dropping to 8.8% is a good thing. It's not happening fast enough. I think probably the thing that will allow us to pop the clutch, if you will, on hiring is corporate tax reform, making more aggressive and permanent the R&D tax credit, as well as approval of some of the free trade agreements that need to get done. I know there's bipartisan support for the South Korean Free Trade Agreement. Colombia has been sitting there for 5 years. Panama. The United States, it's important for us to show that we're willing to compete on a global scale. And for every $1 billion of exports, it supports 5,000 jobs. So I think let's get spending under control, approve the 3 pending FTA agreements, tackle corporate tax reform, which I think the president and Geithner have been receptive to doing. So we just got to get it done. So does that mean that for the foreseeable future, let's say through the end of this year, you're on hold then in terms of hiring? Because these are issues that are... I wouldn't say that. I think that we will continue to hire in certain areas that will match the growth of our company overall. What I'm suggesting is if there's a structural change or the U.S. becomes more conducive to friendly investment here within our boundaries, then we would look to accelerate that hiring. But we're going to hire. We will be hiring. Okay, and you have been. And we have been. Okay. One of the things I did want to ask you about was the AT&T and T-Mobile merger. If it directly at all impacts your company, and what do you make of it? Doesn't directly impact us. We are divesting of our wireless network infrastructure business, so it really doesn't have much of an impact on us. In general... You're divesting that to Nokia, right? To Nokia Siemens, the joint venture of Nokia Siemens. I think that the notion of AT&T and T-Mobile getting together, resulting in an accelerated build-out of 4G, I think AT&T has said that really there's 2 things. There'll be... existing spectrum will be used more efficiently and effectively with the combination, and 95% of U.S. consumers will have 4G in about 5 years post-approval of the deal. To me, those
You believe that's reachable?
I do, and I think those are compelling arguments that would be very attractive and conducive for accelerated investment here in the U.S. Obviously, it's going to be a very involved process. The devil will be in the details, but at first blush, with some of the targets that have been outlined, I think it could be a good thing.
You know, but a lot of the antitrust attorneys that I've talked to say that it's going to be a very hard deal to get through regulators. I mean, can you? You know, if you were there running AT&T, I mean, you know, that's a bold move to have gone ahead and done this.
It is a bold move. I think that. You know, I can't speak for the regulators or the process that they'll use, but I think when you look at competition and the choices that are available in the major metro markets in the U.S., oftentimes there's 4 or 5 different wireless providers. So there's a lot of consumer choice already. And again, my view would be I can see a lot of good that could come from this transaction. We'll see if it goes through or not.
Talk to me about what's going on in Japan. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about technology companies and supply disruptions from the Japanese earthquake. Are you experiencing any of that? So,
I mean, clearly a tragic set of events. We have been very quick to respond. We've had over 1,300 radios and about $500,000 that we've contributed to the recovery effort. We have about 1,000 people in Japan, employees and contractors. So our focus is on recovery, assistance, and get reconstruction going in Japan. We do have some critical suppliers in Japan. We have been impacted to some degree, but I think we're still gathering more information. We have a team there this week, Betty, in Japan on the ground.
Oh, really?
I'll probably provide more information on our earnings call at the end of the month in terms of the full scale and scope of what it is. It's a little bit too early to tell, but we'll see.
What's the difficulty in getting the full picture right now? Is it just that? Well,
there's literally there are communications networks that have collapsed, so exchanging information is tough. Japan is still doing, in many areas, including Tokyo, rolling blackouts. So there's a power issue as well. So information, communications, power, and critical infrastructure that needs to be restored so we can get a little bit more continuity and flow of information will give us a better perspective over the next few weeks.
Talking about regulators really quickly, the Chinese regulators may be holding up this deal that you have to sell your wireless network to Nokia. Why is it being held up by these regulators?
Well, I don't know, but the last key part of approval for the deal is MOFCOM, the Minister of Communications, the regulatory agency in China. We are continuing to answer the questions and provide as much information real time as we can. They've decided to push the review process into what they call phase 3, which has elongated the timeline now into April. We're still targeting a Q2 close, and we're doing everything we can to make it successful.
But you're not going to renegotiate the deal with Nokia at all?
No, we're trying to close the deal as is, and we're hopeful that we can get that done, but we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens and what's required.
Greg, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it. I owe you one. Greg Brown, the Motorola Solutions CEO.